25th Samvidhan Divas, the Congress launched into a tirade against the Prime Minister for disrespecting the letter and the spirit of the Constitution. The attack was, of course, part of the long-running Congress campaign to link the NDA to allegedly endangering the Constitution. The quote, Samvidhan Khatre Mein Hai, unquote, campaign by Rahul Gandhi sees him routinely clutching a pocket edition of the Constitution in his hand and waving it around. Gandhi used the tactic effectively in the Lok Sabha elections, warning tribals and Dalits without basis that Modi would snatch away their rights if they handed the BJP a majority. Now, 5 months later, viewers, voters have seen through Rahul Gandhi's bluff and rejected his fear-mongering in Maharashtra, Jammu, Haryana. Even in Jharkhand, in a losing cause, viewers, the BJP has done better than the Congress and has a vote share, in fact, as good as it had in 2019. A suitably emboldened BJP, a more confident BJP, has strived to turn the tables on the Congress, pointing out how the party rarely practices what it preaches. As if to underline its point, the BJP even claimed today that Rahul Gandhi appeared to disrespect the President of India, who is the veritable custodian of the hallowed Constitution of India. The BJP pointed out, and you can watch those pictures to the right of your screens in the box. Viewers, highlighted is Rahul Gandhi. The BJP pointed out that Rahul Gandhi refused to acknowledge the President's presence on the stage during the ceremony to pay tribute to the Constitution. All the other leaders acknowledged her presence, saluted her, greeted her, congratulated her. Not Rahul Gandhi. He quietly left, turning his back to the President. Later, the Congress party made matters worse for itself when its chief launched into a tirade that centered around undermining the sanctity of the electoral mandate, doubting the reliability of EVMs. Mallikarjun Kharge, the Congress president, went as far as to make a case for returning to paper ballots, viewers. Yes, the technology that was used through the 80s, part of the 90s, and that, viewers, was easily manipulatable. The Congress president, Mallikarjun Kharge, has said, and I quote, "I do not wish to speak about elections, but I would surely say the votes of all the poor and oppressed communities are going to waste. They should all demand voting by ballot paper. Let them keep EVMs with them. We don't want EVMs. We want voting on ballot paper. Then they will know what their position is and where they stand. From our party, we should start this campaign to make everyone aware that they should want ballot paper back. We will speak to other political parties also. We should start a campaign like Bharat Jodo Yatra to bring back the ballot paper, viewers," unquote. The demand comes on the same day the Supreme Court dismissed a petition seeking to go back to ballot paper voting in elections in the country, saying allegations of tampering with voting machines is raked up only by the side that loses the polls. The Supreme Court said, and let me just quote, viewers, the judge. When Chandrababu Naidu or Mr. Reddy lost, they say that EVMs are tampered. And when they won, they don't say anything. How can we see this? We are dismissing this. This is not the place where you argue all of this, unquote. The Supreme Court is right. Constantly, baselessly, and selectively doubting the integrity of the electoral process is an abnegation of the mandate of the voter's choice. This, by extension, exhibits blatant disregard for the spirit of the Constitution, viewers. And of course, the Congress that today constantly talks about threat to the Constitution posed by the Modi government conveniently forgets its own role in shredding the founding ethos of the document. Let me run you through some instances, viewers. We all know about emergency. Indira Gandhi regime passed the Maintenance of Internal Security Act as a law in 1971 to declare an emergency and effectively suspend the Constitution. Instance 2, Indira Gandhi passed the 39th Amendment to the Constitution and placed MISA, or the Maintenance of Internal Security Act, in the 9th schedule to the Constitution, thereby making it totally immune from any judicial review, viewers. Instance 3, various Congress dispensations have applied Article 356 at least 90 times to dismiss state governments. This is also an abnegation of the mandate, viewers. Indira Gandhi regime introduced the words secular and socialist in the preamble of the Constitution, even though the Constituent Assembly of India had advised against doing so in the interest of upholding people's right to choose, which is constitutionally guaranteed, viewers. Fifth instance, there are many, but I'll conclude here and I'll open it up, viewers, to our guests. Barely 5 months after the Constitution was adopted, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's regime passed the First Amendment, which curtailed the freedom of speech by expanding the so-called, quote, reasonable restrictions, unquote. Even today, viewers, we are laboring under this assault on our free speech. I want to open this up and ask some point-blank questions of our panelists. We have just 4 of them, viewers. You know, in this show, we like to keep things tight and compact. I want to first begin with Mr. Brajesh Kalappa. He's a lawyer. He's also argued on constitutional matters. Mr. Kalappa, the Samvidhan khatre mein hai, and this is to quote or paraphrase Rahul Gandhi, narrative has been laid bare by the voter. You can see the results now. It has been rejected. By undermining the mandate and constantly dredging it up, isn't the Congress now, Mr. Kalappa, undermining the Constitution in spirit? What are you trying to do here?
See, Rahul, the way I see it, the Constitution is a living, breathing document.
Okay.
So therefore, nobody can undermine it. The Constitution is, is something which cannot be undermined. But at certain points in time, it's always necessary to remind ourselves of what the aspirations of the original Constitution makers were. And the 4 aspirations are justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Now, on a broad basis, I can tell you that as far as equality is concerned, and I've been even following the Bhakti movement, where several saints were not able to bring about equality and untouchability prevailed. Even under such circumstances, the Constitution has been able to largely provide us equality, and this is something which I think we should remember. We should never forget this, that even the saints were not able to do something that removed untouchability, and the Constitution has been able to do that, and therefore a full salute to the Constitution. But there are certain people who are still languishing in jail only on account of the religion they belong to, right? So whether a Siddiqui Kappan, whether it's a Umar Khalid, why are they in jail? For what reason? Why are they in such elongated terms in jail? I don't know. But the fact is the government doesn't want them to step outside. What are they noted criminals? Are they noted terrorists? No idea. But does the Constitution permit for people to remain for long periods in jail? That is the question. Now, second part is with regard to what you spoke about electoral issues. A person like Elon Musk has said that the EVMs are maybe compromised, they can actually be manipulated. A person no less than Bharat Ratna L.K. Advani felt that the EVMs are something which can actually be manipulated, and he actually spoke about it. Now, the government of the day has actually honored Mr. Advani with the Bharat Ratna. So why not take these criticisms? Because ultimately, if somebody is going to walk away with an election, we don't know what the truth of the matter is. Now, if a major political party, which has also won, Jharkhand, which has won a few seats here and there, when the national president speaks about it, I think it's time for all of us to kind of listen. Of course, the Supreme Court has a view. Now, here is also a senior parliamentarian who's, saying something. So why does not the government actually listen to that point of view? Why does not the Election Commission convene a meeting? Now, there are other issues where the rich are becoming richer. And is this what the Constitution aspires? Is this the aspiration of the Constitution? Because ultimately, we all aspire that there should be equality, whether in all forms,
Yes.
and mainly in economic terms.
Okay.
Now, the rich, certainly as we see, are becoming richer, and the poor are becoming poorer. So this is something which it's a constant struggle. I'm not blaming this government or another government for the present predicament, but it's a constant feature, and we should always be conscious of it. Now, are we going
No,
to
one
say,
second, Mr. Kalappa, all that is fine. You know, this is a great exposition on inequity, inequality, which are two different things at some levels. That's all very good, and you know, in a civics class this works. But unfortunately, let me ask you, Mr. Kalappa, you haven't substantiated on how the Prime Minister is to blame for all of this. You say that a constitution is a living and breathing document. Yet when someone moves a petition to say, let's get rid of the word socialist, because people like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said that we shouldn't have a word like socialist in our constitution, people get the heebie-jeebies. When they say, let's get rid of the word secularism, because, you know, Nehru and company all felt that the word should not belong to the preamble, you guys get the heebie-jeebies. I don't understand. How does it become a dead document in the hands of the Congress, but a living, living and breathing document in the hands of the Congress, but a dead one in the hands of the BJP? I can't understand this. Vivek Debroy, the late Vivek Debroy was attacked left, right and center by the ecosystem, by people who belong to some of, your ranks. I can name a few. But anyhow, I don't want to go down that route. But fundamentally, L.K. Advani also, viewers, I mean, if he did say something about the EVMs, he must have said it in a losing cause. That's exactly what the Supreme Court has said today. In fact, he did lose. So he had all the reasons to come out with an excuse. Everyone finds the latest lamppost. The real problem, viewers, is the Congress party's inadequacies, which are being covered up. Nonetheless, I want to bring in Shehzad Poonawalla. Let's open this up. Let me not sit here and pass judgment on what anyone is saying. Shehzad Poonawalla, how do you address what Mr. Kalappa is saying tonight? We need paper ballots because the EVMs are not doing the trick. Musk says that they are eminently manipulatable. Others are saying, L.K. Advani said so too, one of your own spokespeople, an MP from the BJP said so too, he was a psephologist. So what's the big deal if Kharge says it, and he's the president after all of the Congress party? So he's really someone big.
First of all, Rahul, let me begin by paying my tributes to Bhimrao Babasaheb Ambedkar, who was the father of the Constitution, and because of whom we have this great Constitution, and also pay my tributes and my Shraddhanjali to the martyrs of 2611, particularly to people like Tukaram Ombre. Having said that, संविधान का अपमान यही तो कांग्रेस की असली पहचान, right from optically insulting the constitution by insulting the highest constitutional position holder, the Rashtrapati, by not even providing the basic courtesy, namaskar, or doing the abhivadan which is expected of constitutional functionaries, to sitting down when she was on her feet, something as basic as that, to actually going and in form and in performance also insulting and attacking the constitution, when you have what is called conditional commitment to constitution. What I mean is that if the EVM gives you a victory in Wayanad, EVM election commission is good. When the EVM election commission gives you victory in Jharkhand or Jammu Kashmir, it is good. When you win in Punjab and Delhi and Bengal, Karnataka, Telangana, EVM अच्छे है जी. And if you lose with the same EVM in Haryana and Maharashtra, election commission, EVM, सब कुछ खराब है. Now Mr. Brajesh Kalappa is a senior advocate. He has said Siddiq Kappan case. Siddiq Kappan is already out on bail. But then same principle applies for judiciary also. If the court case is in my favor, judiciary is very good. If the court does not rule in my favor, democracy khatre mein hai, judiciary is under pressure. Today the former Chief Justice of India, Mr. Chandrachud, who they were hailing during the electoral bond verdict, they were hailing during the Chandigarh case verdict, has spoken to Smita Prakash. Rahul, I'm sure you must have caught a glimpse of it. He said, one, there was no pressure on the judiciary from the executive. Par kyun manni hai judiciary ki baat? Why? And now Mr. Chandrachud ji is now open to abuse. Secondly, he said that, the opposition cannot imagine that the judiciary will become the opposition in the country and that we will set the agenda as per their demands and whims and fancies. Because, believe it or not, When they lost the Maharashtra election, Mr. International spokesperson of UBT Sena, Sanjay Raut, the international spokesperson, has blamed Chandrachud and he has blamed EVMs. But now I want to ask two fundamental questions. That if EVMs are to blame, then why is Mr. Pawar not on board with you? Why is Mr. Karti Chidambaram not on board with you? Why is Mr. Robert Vadra, whose wife has won in Wayanad, not on board with you? And let me end it by just reminding Mr. Brajesh Kalappa, sir, Samvidhan Bachana, Rahul Gandhi is like saying Osama bin Laden is advocating for world peace. His family imposed emergency. His family took out the pictures which were there in the original constitution. His family brought the most unwholesome and unhealthy amendments to the constitution, including the 42nd amendment. His family was responsible for imposing precedence rule, which was called Black Letter of Democracy 356, was imposed more than 56, please, more than 100 times.
If Shehzad wants to speak badly about certain people,
Mr. Kalappa,
he's most welcome to, but I have nothing to do with it.
No, of course. Of course, he knows.
Can I continue, Rahul? I did not interrupt and I did not assume
yes.
that this interruption would happen.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Finish.
Well, all the more reason for Brajesh Kalappa to then agree with me rather than interject and oppose me. If Mr. Brajesh Kalappa himself has felt that Congress was so disagreeable that he left Congress, went to AAP, and then he left AAP and now he's independent, then he must in fact agree with me, not interrupt me. But let me just finish 30 seconds, which I am borrowing from Anand Rangnathan's valuable 30 seconds. Today, the Congress party has realized the virtues of Samvidhan Divas. Do you know when the government started Samvidhan Divas celebrations, they boycotted it? And the Congress party, if it is caring for Samvidhan, just two tests. Muslim reservation is Samvidhanik, is Ambedkar's thought. And secondly, when 370 was there, Indian constitution was not applied in Jammu Kashmir. Today, for the first time, Samvidhan Divas has been celebrated. For the first time, we are seeing the Chief Minister of Jammu Kashmir swear oath on the constitution. And guess who opposed it? The Congress-Indy alliance. And therefore, anybody who even pretends to support them willy-nilly should be answerable and accountable.
Okay. Let's open this up. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan and Pawan Verma. Pawan Verma, let me begin with you. What kind of dictator sets himself up to lose a high-stake election where he could be setting a record? What kind of dictator allows himself to be trolled by YouTubers, by all sorts of local and of course both print, digital and television channel anchors? What sort of dictator, and this is a question that I have to ask, that the people actually elect in free and fair elections, which no one can predict, least of all exit pollsters. Least of all, exit pollsters. How is that individual a threat to constitutionalism? It was said that India has become an electoral autocracy. After the 2024 Lok Sabha election, that narrative has gone out of the window. I mean, everything that has been said has been defied by the people themselves. That is the definition of democracy.
Thank you, Rahul. And let me wish through you a very happy Constitution Day to all your viewers. Now, I want to ask you to begin with, because you are a serious anchor, do you want this debate on the importance, relevance and pivotal role in a democracy of our Constitution on the familiar trope of BJP versus Congress? Then it's another kind of debate. If you want to discuss whether, irrespective of political parties and what they may say opportunistically at any given moment of time, is there a threat to the Constitution in general in a democracy without, of course, the possibility of subverting the Constitution? If that is the subject of the debate, I think it becomes far more interesting.
No, sure.
Merely waving a copy of the Constitution, if you will allow me, sir.
Yeah, of course.
Merely waving copies of the Constitution is a reminder both to the Congress of the number of times it violated its spirit, as it may be a reminder to those who are intending to do so. But there is a basic principle we must understand. The Constitution is a piece of paper unless we respect its spirit. Now, in a democracy, the real challenge is that every ruling party at the center uses the letter of the Constitution to erode its spirit. After all, how was the emergency declared? by using the letter of the Constitution. All governments operating within the framework of the letter of the Constitution misuse it for the dividends of power or short-term opportunism, and therefore the importance of Constitution Day is to once again remind citizens to be aware of this misuse. Now, I will just give you 3 or 4 examples why this is always important, irrespective of the political party. And I am not getting into the debate of the EVMs. I don't believe EVMs are tampered with. I do believe that there is no contradiction between EVMs and ballots being there together, but that's a choice for the government to make, the Supreme Court to decide. I am coming to more fundamental points. The Constitution, as part of its basic structure, guarantees a democracy. In a democracy, there are separation of powers between the executive, the legislature and the judiciary, and that functions best when each of these 3 pillars are strong. Now, as far as the executive is concerned, please give me 2 minutes, I won't take more. I'll finish and summarize in that. As far as the executive is concerned, one matter of great concern, that one very important element of the executive, which is the bureaucracy, which Sardar Patel called the steel frame, which gives independent, free, fair and impartial advice to its political masters, has simultaneously by and large lost both its conscience and its spine. And so, therefore, instead of acting as a check, and the entire system is built on checks and balances,
Sure.
Instead of acting as a check to the self-willed powers of the political masters, it has now become almost an accessory and a colluder. Now, as far as the legislature is concerned, yes, we have an opposition, we have a ruling party, but there are always dangers in a ruling party, not now only, before as well. And you referred to the amendments that were made in very strange circumstances. There is always the danger that a ruling party with a brute majority in the Lok Sabha and a managed majority in the Rajya Sabha can pass laws without adequate discussion very often and scrutiny and allow its will to prevail. But the check to that is, of course, the judiciary. Now, as far as the judiciary is concerned, I believe in by and large we have had a fairly impartial judiciary, and to pass aspersions on it is wrong. But at the same time, we do have a situation where the executive will always try, whether you admit it or not, whether I am not talking of any particular party or government,
Yes.
will always try to have the maximum influence over the judiciary, because the government is the single biggest litigator in court. Now, in the appointment of judges, India is the only country which appoint judges. You may question it, but it was meant to be a sort of independence for the judiciary. But again, we have a situation
Sure.
where recommendations of the judiciary for judges
Yeah.
are stalled for as many as 2 years and more by the executive, which just responds by not responding.
Sure.
And many people who are so recommended never get to become judges.
Sure.
Now come to the role of governors.
Okay.
Now, the Constitution has a provision for governors.
Yes.
Not only now, but in the past. In the past, there has been far more abuse of Article 356 through the use of pliable governors.
One
But
understands.
today we have situations where governors
Okay.
are sitting
Okay.
on bills passed by the state assemblies
Okay.
for up to 2 years, requiring the Supreme Court to intervene.
Okay,
And
so
when the Supreme Court intervenes,
this is
they
a-
just refer it to the president, so the will of the people is not being reflected.
Right.
Let me just finish, I'll take a second. And then lastly come independent institutions which are a guarantor of the running of a smooth constitution. I am talking of the Election Commission of India. I cannot understand why the government overruled through an ordinance a judgment of the Supreme Court which made the appointment of election commissioners far more transparent,
Sure.
and therefore possibly more impartial in closely contested
Okay,
elections.
but-
And lastly, if I may come with the media. The media needs to be the greatest protector of the Constitution and therefore needs to be free.
Yes.
Now, if all of this is in place. We celebrate Constitution Day with a clear conscience. Otherwise,
Well,
we
viewers,
must act
let me
on
tell
the
you,
principle
if
that
you-
vigilance is required,
Okay,
because
no
all
doubt
governments
about
try
that,
to
viewers.
use the Constitution
In every
to further their
living,
powers.
breathing democracy, vigilance is required, but not every democracy is perfect. The question is our democracy perfidious? And has it been made perfidious by the government in power? That's the central debate point. Mr. Verma talked about brute majorities. The government doesn't have a brute majority, at least the BJP doesn't. We are being told constantly it's a brittle majority. That the Prime Minister stands on the
Did I use
shoulders
the word
of two.
BJP?
One second.
Did
of
I use
two,
the word BJP?
No, no, I'm
Rahul?
not. I'm not saying
Did I
that. I'm
use the
only.
word BJP?
I'm only
I said
contextualizing for the
governments with
audience,
brute
Mr.
majorities
Verma.
can.
Of course, I'm only contextualizing
I-
the present day
So,
situation.
I mean, don't
for the viewer.
mislead me.
I'm saying that a lot of these issues are structural. They've existed. You could accuse D.Y. Chandrachud of not following up, for example, on making sure that the master of the roster is not him. You could ask of him, why is it that none of these judges declare their incomes not in a way that all of us do? It is left to their discretion to declare their incomes. Why shouldn't they be forced at the point of an income tax notice to declare what they have? Now, many problems, viewers. But Dr. Ranganathan, I have to hit back to this debate. Yes, we've had a great civics lesson, and it's very good sometimes to be reminded of where things can fall apart, where perhaps we need to do more. But Dr. Ranganathan, only bad workmen blame their tools. And this is a very important issue. If the voter is constantly told that his vote counts for nothing because someone is cheating him, imagine what will happen. Bangladesh will happen. Imagine what will happen. A large number of South American democracies that saw huge rioting on their streets will happen. Dr. Ranganathan, this is a poisonous attempt by an opposition that is supposed to hold the government to account in a responsible manner. But this is a poisonous manner.
It is, but first of all, good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Can I say this has been one of the best debates I've been on your show. Thank you. All four of you gentlemen have enriched this debate, have enriched me. So thank you for that. Barring a few things that need to be corrected, but I won't go into that because it's been an absolutely wonderful debate and a very happy Constitution Day to everyone. Look, Rahul, I'll come straight at the question that you've asked. Look, the pet grouse of Congress and so many others is that the Constitution is dead under Modi. Well, when does Constitution die? Constitution dies when a citizen's freedom of speech and expression is brutally curtailed and stomped upon. And that is what Jawaharlal Nehru did through his first amendment to our Constitution, following which, under him, dozens of books and films were banned. Historians and editors were jailed. When does Constitution die? When the president and the judiciary is forced to curtail the fundamental rights of the citizen. And that is what Indira Gandhi did through the emergency, following which tens of thousands of Indians were jailed and killed and sterilized, and Constitution's body, soul and preamble altered with gay abandon. When does Constitution die, Rahul? When a Supreme Court's considered verdict is overturned with impunity, when the citizen's right to privacy is snatched away, and that is what Rajiv Gandhi did through the Postal Act and through overturning the Shah Bano judgment, ushering in an era of blatant appeasement. When does Constitution die? When tens of thousands of activists are arrested and charged with sedition and called anti-national, when the election commission is severely compromised, which is what Sonia Gandhi did when under her proxy rule, 8,000 activists were charged with sedition in a single day, when Naveen Chawla, despite the Shah commission charging him with committing atrocities during the emergency and deeming him unfit for office, was appointed as a chief election commissioner, ignoring the cries of the then CEC that Chawla was actually spying for the Congress and passing on sensitive information to it. When does Constitution die? When the FCRA Act is retrospectively amended, rendering the High Court conviction of political parties like the BJP and the Congress toothless, which is what happened under Rahul Gandhi when the High Court conviction of the Congress and the BJP was rendered useless through a parliamentary amendment brought in by the BJP and supported by the Congress. Nehru, Indira, Rajiv, Sonia, Rahul, these are the famous five who have made sure our Constitution is dead. On the other hand, how has Modi killed the constitution? Give me one example that hasn't either been ratified by the Supreme Court or indeed by the opposition itself, like the 370 abrogation or the overturning of the Supreme Court judgment on the SC/ST Act. But as I said, facts don't matter to those people because they are brandishing this blank book of constitution. Fact is, Rahul, all politicians are equally guilty in murdering the constitution, but most guilty is the Congress that was supposed to cradle and feed baby India into a robust, confident, free and liberal adult nation. The reality is that we don't have a constitution that respects dissent. We have laws and articles and amendments that, rather than protect the rights of the dissenter, protect those who violate his rights. Everything is grey, everything is subject to something, everything is primed for offending religious sensibilities, and all parties are equally guilty. Just 30 seconds if I may. If I am not in jail right now, Rahul, it is because the state has decided that I need not be jailed. Dozens are arrested every week for offending religious sensibilities under 295A, brought in by the British under Mahatma Gandhi, outraged against booklet Rangila Rasool. Truth is, there was more respect for dissent in ancient India than there is in the modern. My humble request to those who commission an Ambedkar statue next: steam up his bronze spectacles. Let him not see this India, or he will cry tears of stone.
Well, let me add one more line. A constitution dies when it is fossilized by narrow partisan politics that prevents its reinvention through democratic processes. And let's be honest, viewers, that's exactly what's happening. But 1 minute, I want to come back to the BJP spokesperson, Mr. Kalappa, before I move on in this debate. Shadat Poonawalla, many people have said, and they've spun around and said, that the spirit of the constitution is violated when, for example, the government considered the ECBs, the electoral bonds, for example, which had to be struck down by the courts, etc., etc. How do you respond to those people? Because all this talk about unfair playing, political playing field, etc., etc.
You see, the greatness of a speaker like Pawan Verma is that in letter you can never figure out that who he is targeting, but the spirit of his statements make it amply clear that his dispensation towards one side is more than the other side, and I'll explain to you why. Because I don't believe that Mr. Verma would not know that under the Constitution of India, the Parliament of India is entitled and empowered to make a law, whether it's ordinance or by a parliamentary act, to appoint or to change the remuneration or whatever conditions of the election commission. And in fact, it was the Supreme Court that said that till the time you are going to make a law as per Parliament, you are entitled to continue the arrangement we are telling you, which had the presence of the Chief Justice, but otherwise then the Parliament will make a law. And whether it's an ordinance or a law doesn't really matter. By the way, I want to ask Mr. Verma, how many state election commissioners are appointed by the judiciary of that particular state? The state election commissioners are directly appointed by the Chief Minister or by the government of that state. And by the way, during Nehru's time, for most period, there was only one Chief Election Commissioner. There was not a committee. There was not a commission of 3. That started much later. Okay. Mr. Verma will conveniently forget that the electoral bonds was actually passed in Parliament. It was passed as a system in Parliament, but conveniently forget about that. But I don't want to have a grouse with Mr. Verma. I just want to ask him 2 simple questions and leave it at that. One, Mr. Verma, where are all these liberal spirit upholders of the constitution when open calls are made for Muslim reservation and when open calls are made in a political scenario about vote jihad? Everyone is up in arms to say that ek rahenge, safe rahenge. How can the Prime Minister say this? This is such an affront to constitutional position that he is holding. But none of them are opening their mouth when vote jihad calls are said and parties and political institutions are supporting them. Why is there such a blatant double standard? And that is where the spirit of the constitution is violated by people who do not call out what is wrong.
Mr. Verma, quick response and then I move on. Yes.
The response is that I am surprised at the way Mr. Poonawalla has chosen to target me, because unless there is a particular manner in which what I said has hurting vein, I never mentioned the BJP. I said all governments do their best in a democracy to use the letter of the Constitution to often misuse it.
Right.
But it seems to have obviously hit a vulnerable mark, which was not my intention.
Because
Secondly,
the
I want to
example you
say
gave
to
was
my
blatantly
Okay, let him
wrong.
respond.
far better friend,
Yeah.
Anand, don't disturb me.
No, Mr.
Shahzad, I
Verma,
didn't
respond please.
disturb
Yes,
you.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, please. As far as Anand is concerned, and I give great value to what he says, yes, you're right, Anand. There has been great misuse and abuse of the Constitution from ab initio. But the most dramatic instance in which it was done, which was the emergency, does not mean that efforts since then have ceased, because that is the nature of self-willed executive power. And that is why the vigilance required. I mean, if the Supreme Court passes a judgment on the powers of the Delhi government,
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a BJP government or an AAP government, by a full bench, if that is overruled by an ordinance, that is not cited, but an overruling by in the Shahbano case, which was equally wrong, is cited. I just ask you, why the double standards? If, for instance, democracy is a basic structure of the Constitution,
Okay.
and I'm not blaming any party, again,
Right.
a level
I
playing
need to move
field
on. 30
is
seconds,
required.
please.
And
Yes.
the perception, and the perception, no, I've been asked these questions, so I must respond.
Yeah, but 30 seconds, I need to move on.
And
Yeah.
a level playing field must be the perception
Okay.
of the voter.
Okay.
And if the Supreme Court well-intentionally tries to create an election commission which perhaps appears to be more impartial, because we have seen abuses of the election
Sure,
commission.
I understand the point you're
Anand
making.
mentioned one, I can mention one more.
I understand the point you're
then-
making.
You don't understand, or do you understand?
Okay, the point is, viewers, the point is, I am not here sitting in judgment of either side. Yeah, okay, I'm only coming out here and basically asking the question, viewers. Has too much been made of propaganda by a particular side in trying to suggest to all of us that a particular executive is not doing things to uphold the spirit of the Constitution? That's all I was getting at. We've heard all sides. I'm leaving you, viewers, to think this through. And you also have to ask yourself, are millions of Indians constantly wrong when they pick one particular individual who is being called dictator or Hitler or what have you? Think about these things. Think about these things. I'm not mixing up an electoral autocracy with an electoral democracy. I'm not doing all of that, viewers. I'm only asking you to think. If people don't believe in an open system that someone is doing good by them, they won't vote him. We have seen this. Think about that. Let's just move on, viewers, because this is a very sad story. It's a story that is now beginning to capture global attention. The blood streaming down, viewers, the faces and bodies of Bangladeshi Hindus is the same that flows in our veins. Today, that blood is flowing in Bangladesh as Hindus peacefully standing up for their rights in the face of xenophobia are being jailed or hunted down by Islamist mobs. A Hindu monk with ISKCON called Chinmoy Das Prabhu has been implicated reportedly in a false case and thrown into jail. On October 30th, a case was filed against 19 people, including Das, at Chattogram Kotwali police station in Bangladesh, accusing them of disrespecting Bangladesh's national flag in the New Market area during a rally of the Hindu community. Proof of the charge is hard to come by. But moments after the arrest, ISKCON issued an appeal to the Modi government to intervene. The ISKCON said that they had come across disturbing reports that one of their prominent leaders of their institution had been detained by the Dhaka police. And they said it was outrageous to make baseless allegations that ISKCON has anything to do with terrorism anywhere in the world. Went on to say, and I quote, ISKCON Incorporate urges the government of India to take immediate steps and speak to the government of Bangladesh, unquote. Seized of the gravity of the situation, the MEA shot off a major urgent missive to Dhaka. MEA said, we have noted with deep concern the arrest and the denial of bail to Sri Chinmoy Krishna Das, who is also the spokesperson of the Bangladesh Samhit Sanatan Jagran Jot. it's unfortunate that while the perpetrators of these incidents remain at large, charges should be pressed against a religious leader presenting legitimate demands through peaceful gatherings. We also note with concerns the attacks on minorities protesting peacefully against the arrest of Sri Das. Over the last few years, viewers, there have been persistent reports of large-scale hate attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh. These pictures are evidence of what we have seen in the past. The Bangladesh government has responded to New Delhi, basically telling New Delhi to mind its own business. It says, oh, we are deeply hurt and troubled that New Delhi has accused us, has misconstrued this arrest, which has taken place under our laws. So basically, they've told us to take a walk, viewers. Broadly, that's what's happened, and we can put out the breaking news. It'll fire on your screens, but the Bangladeshis are clear. They're going to hold on to this man. They're going to make an example of him. In fact, viewers, there are visuals now of large mobs chanting that the ISKCON should be banned because it's a terrorist organization. The first thing you do, viewers, before cleansing a minority is to cut them off from their faith. That's what's happening. And this is becoming absolutely random. But viewers, let me tell you, the problem is that we Indians are not speaking as one. We're leaving the government to do the talking. We're leaving a couple of political parties to do the talking. But those same Indians who look constantly westwards at Gaza, at Rafah, and say all eyes on Gaza and Rafah, viewers, they are not today in the game. They are in no certain terms standing behind the government. No one is protesting on the streets of India, viewers, for these Hindus. Forget about giving them asylum in this country, which the government should be doing, or opening the borders to allow them in, which the government should be doing. Viewers, Indians themselves are not standing as one. As I said, they have all the sympathy for Gazans, they have all the sympathy for Palestinians, they have all the sympathy for all sorts of other minorities in different parts of the world, but not the Hindu community. And you have to ask yourself why. And let me open this up. Dr. Anand Ranganathan and, of course, Abdul Razak Khan, who is one of those who on this show said that India should play an active role in stopping the atrocities against Gazans. Today, viewers, none of that ecosystem is saying all eyes on Dhaka. Dr. Ranganathan, why? What's going on here? Forget the Indian government. I know that they have sort of not come to the party, so to speak, and this is an unfortunate term that I'm using, but it could be a lifeline.
That the leopard doesn't change his spots. So what is the point? And I'm being rhetorical out here. I'm not blaming you. Yeah. It's hardly anyone's grouse that the left or the Congress or the Islamists or the jihadis are behaving exactly like the way one expects them to behave. They are anti-Hindu. Let's put it, as bluntly and as truthfully as one can. The problem is not that. I don't expect them to raise concerns for the Hindus being murdered there and the pogrom and the genocide being conducted in Bangladesh by the state there. I don't expect them to. The problem is it's been 110 days since the genocide is continuing against the Hindus in Bangladesh. 101 days, if I'm not mistaken. How many camps has our government put up on our side of the border, either relief or detention camps? Not a single one. You are right when they say that all the other paraphernalia, so-called ecosystem, is not talking about it. My grouse is our government.
No, true, but Dr. Ranganathan, imagine if phalanx after phalanx, cutting across caste communities in India were to ask this question unitedly of the government would have to listen, let me tell you. So it's not just that this ecosystem that talks about Palestinian lives and how they matter, etc., that's letting down the Bangladeshi Hindus. They're also letting down India's own commitment to human rights.
You mean to say, Rahul, that a pro-Hindu government would listen to anti-Hindu leftists
I don't know. I can only tell you that numbers matter in every democracy, Dr. Ranganathan. Whether you're pro-Hindu or you're pro, what have you, you will listen if enough people say we're making this an issue, a big burning issue It's not acceptable, like the farmers
Rahul,
did. And
Rahul,
all
sorry
these
to
people
interrupt.
lined up behind the farmers. And guess what? The government had to take a step back. But one second, let me bring in Mr. Razak. Give me 30
Yeah, but
seconds.
before you do, Rahul, I just
yeah.
want to preempt him because he is going to say
Yeah.
that no such genocide or pogrom is happening against Hindus in Bangladesh. In fact, it is happening against Muslims in India. You
He
watch
must be blind.
the next 30 seconds.
If he says
he's going to say exactly
he's
that.
got to
Why
be
are you
blind,
saying
he's
what
got
I
to be a
have to say?
complete partisan. I don't believe it. Let me ask Mr. Razak. Mr. Razak, Bangladeshi Hindu lives don't matter, but Gazan Palestinian lives matter. Can you explain this to me?
Sir, first of all, I would like to portray like this, situation in Bangladesh is bad, but situation in India is worst. At least Bangladeshi Hindus are safe.
They-
They are not lynched
saying they are safe.
in broad daylight. They have not been asked to chant Allahu Akbar. Their houses are not being bulldozed. I am saying, look at what's happening in Assam, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, not to forget Uttar Pradesh. Every time the Supreme Court has to come, intervene and say that this is wrong. Rahul ji, Indian Muslims have witnessed 1992. Who is responsible for that? We don't know even till date. Indian Muslims have witnessed 2002. Who's responsible?
Rahul,
we don't
what
know
did
even
I
till
say?
date. Even
What did I say?
22 years after 2002, we are still trying
Yes,
to
sir.
find
Who is responsible for
Godhra Hai.
1990? Who's responsible for 1990? Who's responsible for the death of, I can name 25 Hindus to you right now off the tip of my tongue. And
Sir,
you won't have
today
a
our
response.
heart
Let's not
bleeds
make this
for
about
Chinmoy
Indian Hindus and
Krishnadas
Indian
ji.
Muslims. Let's make this about humanity.
our
The
heart
same,
bleeds
no,
for
hang on.
Chinmoy Krishnadas
Mr.
ji.
Razak, did you not sit
Similarly,
on
my
my
heart
channel?
bleeds for
Hang on.
Dr.
Did you
Zakir
not
Naik.
sit on my show?
My heart
No,
bleeds
listen
for
to me.
Dr.
Did you
Salman
not? No,
Azhari.
please don't shout over me.
My
I'm asking you
heart
a question,
bleeds
Mr.
for
Razak.
Maulana Abdul Rahim.
Mr. Razak, I'm asking you a simple question. Did you not sit on this channel at one particular point and say Rohingya Muslims should be given refuge in our country? Did you say yes or no?
Definitely, yes.
Definitely.
they
Now,
have
one
to
minute.
be.
Stop. Viewers, if India was so unsafe for Muslims, why is this man asking for Muslims to be given shelter in our country, where Muslims are given no rights, where they are treated like third-class citizens? Mr. Khan, have you completely today been blinded by your absolute, sorry to say,
Not just
revolting exclusivity?
Sir, please
Not just today.
understand the slogan.
I don't know.
"Batenge
I'm
to
shocked.
katenge."
Did you not,
Coming
Mr.
from
Khan?
an elected
Did you not,
chief
Mr. Khan?
minister
Did you
of
not,
the
Mr.
largest
Khan,
state
once
of this
call for
country?
the beheading
What does it
of
mean?
a Hindu? Of a Hindu? Did you not accusing him of blasphemy? Yes or no?
Sir, I am saying, look at what
I'm
the
asking
chief
you a question.
minister
Yes
of
or
our,
no? Did you not call for the beheading
largest
of a
state
Hindu?
the country has to say.
Did you not call for the beheading of Kamlesh Tiwari? Yes, no.
Sir, my
Now viewers,
question
look,
is simple
he's
to
not
you.
going to answer that
Did
question.
Modi ji,
We'll
being
play
the
out a
Chief
clip.
Minister of Gujarat,
I wish I had kept that
apologized
clip.
for
No, 1 second. I
2002?
wish I had kept a clip aside,
did
viewers,
Modi ji
for these
apologize
people.
for
This guy
2002?
just said to us
Did
that the
Advani ji
Supreme Court
apologize
has
for
to step in
1992?
and show the people the real script. Mr. Modi got a clean chit from the Supreme Court, the same Supreme Court today that he is singing hosannas to. These people are two-faced, viewers, and I'm telling you, viewers, if we don't stand up as one for the Hindus of Bangladesh, we are goners. They are going to be exterminated like that. You're seeing those pictures.
Rahul ji,
This is
please
not a
stand for
fiction
the
anymore.
Muslims of India
There are
as well.
people with blood coming down their faces. They are in hospital. And this man wants Rohingyas in a country that doesn't treat, he says, Muslims right, but he wants Rohingyas to be given. They are the ones who appeal for CA to say bring the Pakistani Muslims who are being discriminated, the Bangladeshi Muslims who are being discriminated in their own country to this country. Because we are some safe haven, you see, viewers. If we are such a safe haven for Muslims, then what's the problem? He got exposed today, viewers. He got very badly exposed. Dr. Ranganathan, now I want you to tell us what this Indian government can do actually to help the Bangladeshi Hindus.
I think the first thing immediately that should have been done months ago, within a week of the coup and the dictator taking over, was to have us to have set up relief camps and detention centers this side of the border. Because the visuals of tens of thousands of Hindus escaping certain death, rape, pillaging, loot, and standing in chest-high waters of Teesta pleading the BSF to be let in. It just exposes that I'm no longer, in fact, I don't want Abdul Razak and other people to stand for the Hindus of Bangladesh. I don't, because they will dilute it, and they would never. I want us to stand up for them.
Okay.
And not just, yes.
Well, viewers, the Bangladeshi government has unfortunately, and I don't know how to say it, I'm not going to use epithets that will jar, but I would say have certainly turned a cold shoulder to us. They've shown their cold shoulder. They've said basically, you know, get off your high horse. We are going to treat Das as we please. Let's see what Delhi does, viewers. But let me move on, because there's been a startling admission, and one which is replete with consequences for the political future of Congress and Rahul Gandhi. The Amit Shah-led Ministry of Home Affairs has told the Allahabad High Court that it is looking into the manner or the matter of Congress scion's Rahul Gandhi's alleged dual citizenship. The MHA was responding to a query posed to it by the High Court. The court had asked for the centre's response on a petition that claimed Mr. Gandhi is also a citizen of the UK, and in view of that, his Indian citizenship be revoked. The petitioner S. Vignesh Shishir, a resident of Karnataka, now joins us. I also have Dr. Ranganathan with me. Mr. Shishir, Vignesh, I want to ask you, what is your petition about? You don't have much time. Sum it up for our viewers. Why should we take you seriously? Rahul Gandhi has contested several elections. No one has found fault with his citizenship. You are now saying that the High Court is asking the MHA, and the MHA is studying this. It's under process. This is very serious. What is it?
Good. Sir, I am Vignesh Shishir from BJP Karnataka.
Yeah.
The case is about Mr. Rahul Gandhi's British nationality. So we have filed a PIL before the Honorable Allahabad High Court at Lucknow bench. The matter has been going on for a couple of few months now. And a very important development in this case is that the United Kingdom government has formally confirmed the existence of Mr. Rahul Gandhi's name in their citizenship records a few months back, and since the year 2022 as well. So all these papers we have submitted to the Honorable Allahabad High Court, along with
so who did you write to in the UK government that has given you this confirmation that you claim is a game changer, is proof?
The United Kingdom government has a home office which is equivalent to the Ministry of Home Affairs in India. So they have formally communicated the existence of the name Rahul Gandhi in their citizenship records, one. And second thing in this case is that the Ministry of Home Affairs, for the first time in the past several attempts made by a lot of different people, I would not want to name them here, has formally given submission before the Honorable Allahabad High Court in their status report that they are considering the cancellation of the citizenship of Rahul Gandhi as per their status report submitted. They are considering the application which is given by me, representation, which includes a lot of different evidences, proofs, information, documents, both video and photographs as well,
okay,
which is directly indicating the British nationality of Shri Rahul Gandhi in this case. And secondly, I have also filed a complaint before the Central Bureau of Investigation in Lucknow. Presently, the matter has been transferred for investigation in Delhi in the AC2 branch of the CBI. So they're also parallelly investigating this case. And huge developments are likely to take place in the coming days.
Well, let's see.
Just coming back to
one
the
second.
hearing which happened.
One second. You see, Dr. Ranganathan, the words under process have an ominous ring to it. Very ominous.
Yes.
If you really look at it, under process means that there is something being examined. Now, we've heard this before in some iterations. How seriously does someone like you take this?
No, I disagree with this, because I always believed, and I think it's true, that Rahul Gandhi is a citizen of Jupiter. So I think he's neither of UK and nor of. But to be serious, Vignesh, thank you for smiling. Is it not true, Vignesh, that this issue cropped up almost 13 years ago? For 11 of those years, the BJP government has been at the center. Can you please tell me what has been done?
May I respond to
Yes, go ahead.
Sir? Sir, the BJP government has done a lot of groundwork on this particular subject matter. And I, being a member of the Partisan party from Karnataka, we have been connected to Dr. Ranganathan in the Mysore Park issue previously. So I hope doctor remembers us very well. That's also a piece of history I would like to give to the doctor. And secondly, with regard to this issue, this time I am told by my highly placed sources in the Ministry of Home Affairs that they formally communicated to the government of the United Kingdom after the representation was given by me. And they have also received some feedback from the United Kingdom government, which they are likely to place before the Honorable Allahabad High Court in the coming days.
Well, viewers.
Parallelly, very interesting news is that the CBI has been investigating this case in a very serious manner.
Well,
and
look, viewers, look,
these
could be, as they say, fishing expeditions. I don't know. We'll have to really, since the courts have taken, the only reason I'm doing this story, viewers, is not to give legitimacy to rumor, to conjecture, to, as I said, a fishing expedition, but because the court has sought an answer now from the Ministry of Home Affairs. So this, and the response from the Ministry of Home Affairs is that we are processing this matter. Okay. It should not be dismissed. So it is for this reason why it's been brought onto mainstream television tonight, viewers. And we will have to watch 19th of December very closely, because that's when we're expecting the MHA to tell the court, and it's a high court no less, viewers, a double bench, what it has found in its investigation. This is going to be a humdinger of a case when it comes up on the 19th. Thank you for watching, viewers. Palki Sharma with The Vantage.
और आगे की यात्रा की बेहतर योजना बनाने के अवसर प्रदान करते हैं। ऐसे समारोह हमारी एकता को मजबूत बताने की तथा ये दर्शाते हैं कि राष्ट्रीय लक्ष्यों को प्राप्त करने के प्रयासों में हम सब एक साथ हैं। हमारे स्वाधीनता संग्राम के दौरान अनेक महान विभूतियों ने हमारे राष्ट्रीय आदर्शों को रेखांकित किया था। हमारी संविधान सभा में हमारे देश की विविधता को अभिव्यक्ति मिली थी। संविधान सभा में सभी प्रांतों और क्षेत्र के प्रतिनिधियों की उपस्थिति से अखिल भारतीय चेतना को शोर मिला था। संविधान सभा के वाद विवाद तथा सदस्यों के संबोधनों में हमें संविधान निर्माण की प्रक्रिया के साथ साथ अपने देश के बारे में गहरी जानकारी प्राप्त होती है। आज जिन पुस्तकों का विमोचन किया गया तथा जो शॉर्ट फिल्म्स दिखाई गई, उनमें लोगों को हमारे संविधान निर्माण के गौरवशाली इतिहास का परिचय प्राप्त होगा। एक अर्थ में भारत का संविधान कुछ महानतम मेधावी लोगों द्वारा लगभग 3 वर्षों के विचार विमर्श का परिणाम था, लेकिन सही अर्थ में ये हमारे लंबे स्वाधीनता संग्राम का परिणाम था। उस अतुलनीय राष्ट्रीय आंदोलन के आदर्शों को संविधान में अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण स्थान दिया गया। उन आदर्शों को सुस्पष्ट और संक्षिप्त रूप से संविधान की प्रस्तावना में व्यक्त किया गया है। ये आदर्श है न्याय, स्वतंत्रता, समता और बंधुता। ये आदर्श सदियों से भारत को परिभाषित करते हैं। संविधान की प्रस्तावना में उल्लिखित आदर्श एक दूसरे के पूरक है। समग्र रूप से ये सभी आदर्श ऐसा वातावरण उपलब्ध कराते हैं जिसमें हम नागरिक को फूलते फलते समाज में योगदान देने तथा साथी नागरिकों की मदद करने का अवसर मिलता है। माननीय संसदगण, संविधान की भावना के अनुसार कार्यपालिका, विधायिका और न्यायपालिका का ये दायित्व है कि वे सामान्य लोगों के जीवन को सुगम बनाने के लिए मिलजुल कर काम करें। संसद द्वारा पारित किए गए अनेक अधिनियमों से जौन आकांक्षाओं को अभिव्यक्ति मिली है। देश के आर्थिक एकीकरण के लिए स्वतंत्रता के बाद का सबसे बड़ा टैक्स सुधार गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज टैक्स को के रूप में किया गया है। वर्ष 2018 में राष्ट्रीय पिछड़ा वर्ग आयोग को संवैधानिक दर्जा प्रदान किया गया है। वुमेन लेड डेवलपमेंट की सोच को यथार्थ रूप देना सामाजिक न्याय के संवैधानिक आदर्शों को प्राप्त करने के लिए अनिवार्य है। नारी शक्ति बंधन अधिनियम द्वारा हमारे लोकतंत्र में महिला सशक्तिकरण के एक नए युग की शुरुआत की गई है। दंड के स्थान पर न्याय तथा अपराध के स्थान पर सुरक्षा की भावना पर आधारित भारतीय न्याय संहिता, भारतीय नागरिक सुरक्षा संहिता और भारतीय साक्ष्य अधिनियम को पारित करके सांसदों ने आधुनिक सोच को अपनाने का प्रभावशाली परिचय दिया है। ऐसे अनेक अधिनियमों को पारित करने के लिए मैं सभी सांसदों की सराहना करती हूँ। पिछले कुछ वर्षों के दौरान सरकार ने समाज के सभी वर्गों, विशेषकर कमजोर वर्गों के लोगों के विकास के लिए अनेक कदम उठाए हैं। ऐसे निर्णयों से लोगों का जीवन बेहतर हुआ है तथा उन्हें प्रगति के नए अवसर मिल रहे हैं। गरीब लोगों का अपना पक्का घर मिल रहा है, बिजली, पानी, सड़क की सुविधा मिल रही है, खाद्य सुरक्षा और चिकित्सा सेवाएं मिल रही है। देश में बड़े पैमाने पर विश्व स्तर का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाया जा रहा है। समग्र और समावेशी विकास के ऐसे अनेक प्रयास हमारे संवैधानिक आदर्शों को आगे बढ़ाते हैं। इस प्रयासों के लिए मैं सरकार की सराहना करती हूँ। उच्चतम न्यायालय के प्रयासों से देश की न्यायपालिका हमारे न्याय प्रणाली को और अधिक प्रभावी बनाने के लिए अनेक प्रयास कर रही है। न्यायपालिका विचाराधीन कैदियों को और जेल सुधार के विषयों पर भी कार्यरत है।
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. The unrest in Bangladesh is getting out of hand. Yesterday we told you about violent protests and clashes in which students were killed. Today we will tell you about the arrest of a Hindu priest. New Delhi has condemned it. At a time when Hindus are being targeted in Bangladesh, what message is the Yunus government sending with this arrest? We will discuss. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, the capital Islamabad is under siege. Streets have turned into war zones. Protesters are clashing with security officials and breaching barricades. Imran Khan supporters are once again testing the army's grip on power. In Europe, they are bracing for Putin's